Discover how a heartwarming song changed a CEO's life after 20 years of hiding his smile. Jack Thompson, the stoic CEO of Thompson Logistics, seldom smiled. For 2 decades, he wore a mask of responsibility, keeping his father's legacy alive while burying his own dreams. In the small Midwestern town of Willow Creek, the air buzzed with barbecues and high school football games. Yet to Jack, these traditions felt like distant echoes, fading memories of a time when music filled his soul. The townsfolk saw him as a hard-working man, but no one understood the heavy weight he carried, the unfulfilled passion for music that seemed as far away as the stars. One summer evening, while rummaging through the dust-laden attic, something caught his eye. An old cassette tape rolled out from beneath a box of forgotten trinkets. Jack picked it up, heart pounding. Inside was a song he had composed in high school, a haunting melody that summoned years of sparkle, laughter, and carefree dreams. The moment he hit play, the room filled with a symphony of nostalgia. Each note hit him like a train, pulling him back to simpler times when his laughter danced with the echoes of guitar strumming. Overwhelmed, Jack came to life, rediscovering the joy hidden deep within his chest. Determined to chase it, he performed that song at the community fundraiser, casting aside his insecurities. As the first chord rang out, the crowd hushed in disbelief. Surprised faces softened, tears glistened. Old friends recalled the young man who once envisioned a stage, not a boardroom. Jack's voice soared, and for the first time in years, he felt alive. But the euphoric moment stirred the pot. What about the family business? What about expectations? Whispers echoed in the hall, questioning his commitment, his responsibilities as a father to his teenage daughter, Emily. Their relationship had withered, and she needed a father, not just a provider. "Dad, you can't just abandon everything," she raged one day, her voice trembling. By sheer chance, their confrontation coursed through a town hall meeting shortly after, where Jack stood before friends and citizens, all expectant eyes on him. A hushed silence took over the room before a voice rose above the rest. "Jack, we can't have you ignoring your duty for a dream." He froze, caught between his past and future. Emily, standing among the concerned townsfolk, broke through. "I miss you, Dad. We just want you back." The tension thickened, but hope crackled in the air. The crowd turned to her, eyes wide with surprise, a wave of empathy washing over them. Jack glanced at her, his little girl, so full of promise, wanting his attention more than anything. That moment threatened to fracture everything he'd worked so hard to uphold. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With the stakes impossibly high, Jack faced his own reflection in Emily's pleading eyes. He could feel the chains of expectation tightening, yet a spark began to ignite. Could he, the ever-responsible CEO, dare to dream publicly again? Would he finally choose to reclaim his voice, the one that hadn't sung in years? As Jack prepared for his next performance, uncertainty loomed like dark clouds. The community, once supportive, now whispered a different tune. Would he break free, or would he once again silence his heart? Amidst the mounting pressure, the only certainty was that something beautiful waited to emerge from within, a symphony years in the making. As Jack stood in front of the mirror, heart racing, he rehearsed his lines for the upcoming performance. The small-town community center felt like a stage ready to swallow him whole. He could almost hear the heartbeat of Willow Creek, pulsing with expectation and doubt. The whispers he'd caught in the wind felt heavier now, each one a reminder of the responsibilities tethering him to his family's legacy. Jack took a breath, his hands trembling. Emily's words echoed in his mind, a mix of fear and longing. "We just want you back." It was a plea he couldn't ignore, yet this performance loomed, a chance to bridge the years of silence. He needed to find a way to balance the two worlds, a father and a dreamer. That evening, the community center was filled with familiar faces, all anxious to witness what Jack would bring to them this time. Friends from his youth shared knowing glances, their excitement punctured by concern. He felt the weight of their collective gaze as he stepped onto the stage. A spotlight, warm yet intimidating, bounced off him, and for a moment, he wished he could disappear into the walls. He cleared his throat, and silence fell. The anticipation clung to the air like summer humidity. Jack's fingers danced over the guitar strings, the familiar chords awakening memories of his younger self, the one who sang not for fame, but for the sheer love of music. Closing his eyes, he envisioned Emily in the crowd, her expression a blend of hope and uncertainty, urging him on. Just as he began to play, the room seemed to melt away. Each note flowed from his heart, unlocking parts of himself he thought were lost forever. He poured his soul into the melody, surrendering to the rhythm, letting his voice weave through the memories of an almost forgotten past. Faces softened as tears replaced uncertainty, and the energy shifted. Jack was no longer just the CEO. He was a father, a friend, a singer. As he sang the final refrain, something miraculous happened. A wave of applause erupted, shock transformed into genuine appreciation. Among the cheering, he spotted Emily, tears glistening in her eyes. There was something different about her expression: relief, pride, perhaps even admiration. Jack felt a powerful rush of gratitude to see that spark in her eyes. This moment, this connection was worth the risk. But as the lights dimmed and the crowd slowly quieted, a familiar voice broke through the newfound silence. "That was beautiful, Jack." It was Margaret, an influential figure in the town, but her words came with a hint of caution. "But let us not forget about the business. We need you to focus on what matters." A sigh escaped Jack's lips. This was what he feared. The townsfolk loved him, but their expectations loomed heavy. Would they ever see him beyond the role handed down from his father? Would they allow him the chance to be both a CEO and a musician? Jack looked into Emily's eyes again, her gaze unyielding. She needed him, but he was terrified of letting his dreams shatter against the pressure. Could he find a way to honor his father's legacy while embracing his own dreams? As he walked off stage, a mix of exhilaration and doubt washed over him. What if he could bring them together? What would happen if he dared to fuse his identity as a father with his passion for music? As Jack sat down to gather his thoughts, the phone buzzed in his pocket. He glanced down, heart racing. It was a message from a local music producer. Could this be the opportunity to change everything? The crossroads of his life was ahead, filled with notes yet to be played. The question lingered in the air. Would he step into the unknown or retreat back into the shadows? Jack stared at the message on his phone, disbelief dancing across his face. A local music producer wanted to meet? The words felt surreal. He had spent years buried under the weight of expectations, wrestling with the image of a dutiful son and a driven CEO. But here, wrapped in pixels, was the glimmer of a long-lost dream. "Hey, you okay?" came a voice from just beyond his peripheral vision. It was Emily, her brow creased with concern. She stepped closer, the warmth of her presence grounding him. I just got a message," Jack stammered, holding the phone like it was a fragile artifact from another life. "A producer wants to talk." Her expression shifted from concern to a radiant smile. "That's amazing. This is what you wanted, right?" "I don't know, it feels scary," he admitted, running a hand over his hair. "What if it's just another distraction? Another way to let everyone down?" Emily shook her head, her determination shining through. "You're not letting anyone down by following your passion. It's about time you did something for yourself, Jack." Her words wrapped around him like a warm blanket, chasing away the chill of doubt. "But what if I can't balance it all? The business, the family, the music? You don't have to choose one over the other. You can find a way. You just need to believe in yourself." The intensity in her gaze sent a spark through him. He wanted to believe, wanted to lean into that daring part of himself that craved the thrill of music again. Taking a deep breath, he nodded. "You're right. This could be the chance I've been waiting for. It's just, if I'm honest, I don't even know where to start." "Then let us figure it out together," she said, her smile unwavering. "I'd love to help. Let us not let fear dictate your life anymore." Jack's heart thudded in his chest. There was something undeniably grounding about her offer, lifting him from the confines of what others expected. His fingers itched for the guitar again, to shape melodies that expressed not only the turmoil of expectations, but also the courage to defy them. "You can perform the songs you wrote, right?" she asked, eyes sparkling. "Maybe, but can I mix that with the responsibilities at the company?" What if they see me as just the music guy and not the CEO they need? Who says you can't be both? Emily's question hung in the air, inviting him to explore the territory between his father's legacy and his own dreams. Let them see you as all of you. Jack felt the slivers of excitement shiver down his spine. A hope blossomed, warming the edges of his uncertainty into something beautiful. Performing again was inching closer, and now, so was the possibility of a new life he could carve for himself. All right, he said finally, determination softening his voice. Let us make that meeting happen. I need to take this leap. As they planned for the next day's meeting, Jack's thoughts raced. The comfort of stepping into the unknown intertwined with the thrill of rediscovering himself. Music had always been his first love, and now it felt like an embrace waiting for him. But just as happiness began to swell within, his phone buzzed again. A notification. He opened it, and a cold rush of fear gripped him. It was a message from his father's old business partner, one that could threaten everything he hoped to build. Jack, we need to talk. There are things you're not aware of about your father's business, and decisions must be made soon. The air felt heavy, the crossroads suddenly eclipsed by shadows. Would he now have to face accusations of his father's missteps, just as he tried to spread his wings? Jack looked at Emily, the weight of his choice looming over them both. What awaited him on this path? Would he dare push forward, or back down in the face of uncertainty? Jack's mind raced. The message from his father's partner twisted in his gut, cold and unwelcome. He felt untethered, suspended between the thrill of new beginnings and the looming threat of old shadows. Jack! Emily's voice broke through his fog. Her eyes searched his, concern written across her gentle features. What's wrong? He showed her the message, watching her expression shift from support to urgency. It's not just about the music. There's something shady going on with the company. And if I don't handle it right, his words trailed off as he grappled with the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. Emily took a step closer, her hand finding his. You can tackle this. You're a smart guy. But don't forget the other half of you, the musician, the dreamer. Right? He said, forcing a smile but feeling the tug of doubt. I just wish something wasn't pulling me in two directions at once. You can embrace both sides, she encouraged, her squeeze firm. Start with the meeting. Let us see what he has to say. You might find answers that can lead you to balance it all. Jack nodded, feeling a flicker of determination spark within him. Okay, I'll go, and then focus on the producer afterward. But what if he brings up issues I'm not ready to face? Then handle them as they come. You're not alone in this, Emily reminded him. Remember, you have a song waiting to be sung. Let that guide you. Her words breathed life into the chaos swirling inside him. A knowing smile broke free as he thought about his unfinished tunes, the ones that echoed the truth he buried deep. They weren't just melodies. They were expressions of every joy and fear he ever felt. As they sat on a bench outside, the sun dipped low, casting warm golden rays that seemed to carry a promise. Jack closed his eyes for a moment, drawing in the scent of fresh grass and budding flowers. The world felt alive, vibrant, hopeful, distracting him from the encroaching darkness of business woes. I'll call you after the meeting, he said, his voice steadier now. And then maybe we can hash out my set list? Definitely, Emily beamed. I can't wait to hear your songs. With a deep breath, Jack stood and turned his gaze toward the horizon where the evening sky was lit with hues of orange and pink, a vivid reminder of possibilities. He had come too far to back down now. He would face this meeting, confront the shadows, and then claim the joy that music had always promised him. As the sun disappeared, he felt a tiny tremor of fear mix with excitement within him. Was he ready for both the blast from the past and the call of the future? The next morning arrived too quickly. Jack sat across from his father's former partner in a somber cafe. The atmosphere buzzed, patrons lost in their own stories, but he was swallowed by the weight of the conversation looming ahead. Jack, his father's partner, Martin started, voice low and thick with seriousness. There are things about your father's business dealings that you need to know. Things that could shake the very foundation of what you're trying to build. Jack's heart raced, an ominous weight settling in his stomach. What do you mean? Martin's gaze sharpened, his expression unreadable. There are missing funds, questionable transactions, and you need to decide quickly how to handle this. The shock hit Jack like a tidal wave, spiraling his thoughts into chaos. What was he supposed to do with this revelation? And what about the meeting with the producer? As he locked eyes with Martin, everything felt simultaneously clear and blurred. A decision had to be made, but which path would he choose? Just when the stakes couldn't feel higher, his phone buzzed again. A new notification flashed on the screen, this time from the music producer. Jack, can't wait to meet. Excited about the new project. We'll create magic together. Jack inhaled sharply. There it was again, the sweet promise of music alongside the storm of business troubles. But could he really juggle them both? Only one thing was certain. Whatever path he chose, it would change everything. And as the kettle whistled at the cafe, a surge of hope flooded him. Would he take the leap of faith toward his passion, or let a legacy trap him in a life he never wanted? The answers felt just out of reach, waiting on the brink of decision. Would he have the courage to embrace both sides of himself? The moment of truth arrived. Jack felt the vibration of his phone in his hand, the screen lighting up with the producer's enthusiastic message. It pulled him momentarily out of the storm swirling around his thoughts. He fought to focus, to grasp the tangible excitement that lay in the world of music, a world he yearned to dive into. Jack, Martin's voice interrupted his reverie. We can't afford to waste time. You need to understand the stakes here. The grim reality of Martin's warning settled heavily on him again. What was he stepping into? On one hand, a successful music career that had the potential to light up every dark corner of his life. On the other, a legacy marked by shadows, secrets, and an uncertain future. Jack straightened in his chair, determination bubbling beneath his anxiety. I understand. But my music, it's part of my path forward. I need to meet with the producer. Martin's brow furrowed in skepticism. And do you think he's going to wait while your family business falls apart? Maybe not, Jack replied, his voice firmer now. But I can't turn my back on my dreams. My father may have had his secrets, but I want to live in his shadow. I want to carve my own path. Martin studied him, his sharp eyes searching for weakness. If Jack wavered now, he knew it would cost him. This was his chance to reclaim something precious. Finally, Martin nodded, albeit reluctantly. All right, just remember that once you dive into this world, there's no going back. I can help, but you need to be ready for the fallout. That's a risk I'm willing to take, Jack said, heart pounding. His resolve was crystallizing. After the meeting, Jack stepped out into the sun-drenched street, hopeful adrenaline racing through him. How many dreams had he tucked away while letting his father's legacy dictate his life? His thoughts drifted to Emily. Her face lit up whenever he played her his songs. Even amidst his doubts, recalling how she always saw the beauty in his melodies made him feel lighter, even joyful. Jack, a voice called from behind. It was Sarah, a fellow musician he met last year. Hey, are you on your way to that meeting with the producer? I heard about it. Yeah, Jack replied, smiling as her enthusiasm was contagious. I think it's going well, but there's more on my plate than I expected. Sarah's bright eyes narrowed. That's the music industry for you. Just remember, it's not only about creating, it's about understanding everything that comes with it. Trust me, I'm learning that the hard way. He chuckled, grateful for her camaraderie. Just stay true to yourself, okay? The best songs come from honest places. Her words echoed in his mind as he walked toward the meeting venue. He thought of the unfinished lyrics waiting back at home, the ones laden with his past and hopes for the future. With a deep breath, he entered the building, ready to embrace whatever awaited him. The world felt vivid with potential, yet threaded with anxiety. He glanced at his phone 8 minutes until his meeting began. As he waited, Jack envisioned Emily's smile and the warmth of her voice encouraging him to embrace his heart. Music was calling to him, and he had to answer. But just as he settled into the rhythm of anticipation, a message popped up again. It was from his father's partner, Martin. We need to talk. Urgently. Jack's stomach lurched. What could be so urgent that it interrupted this crucial moment? His heart raced anew. What kind of storm was brewing now, and how would it impact his dream? The answers felt murky and heavy, just out of reach. Was this going to be the moment that defined everything? Would he have the strength to push forward when so much hung in the balance? Jack's fingers trembled over his phone as he stared at Martin's message. What could be so critical that it couldn't wait? He forced himself to breathe, wrestling with the weight of uncertainty. The clock was ticking, and he needed clarity, but his mind was a whirlwind. He glanced around the waiting area, where chattering voices blended into a comforting hum. Musicians, like him, were nervously adjusting themselves, rehearsing their pitches, clinging to the flicker of hope that a fleeting moment could turn into something grand. Jack couldn't help but wonder if they felt the same storm swirling inside. Jack took a deep breath and texted back, "Everything okay? I'm in a meeting. Can it wait?" He pressed send, half expecting an immediate reply. Instead, silence hung heavy in the air, punctuated only by the tick of the wall clock. As he paced the few steps in front of the glass doors, his mind flickered back to the unfinished lyrics at home. They were filled with pieces of him, the frustration, the hope, the beauty he saw in vulnerability. He could hear Emily's playful teasing about his creative process, and it made him smile despite the gnawing anxiety. He had told her once that music was like a heartbeat. It was rhythm and pulse, a way to feel alive. Then why did it feel like it could slip through his fingers? He shook his head. Now wasn't the time for doubts. The call of the producer was essential. So was navigating through the chaos unfolding with his childhood. Just as he was finding his rhythm, it felt like he was also going to have to make some tough decisions. If he was serious about his music, he needed to step up. The clock struck the hour. It was time. Jack swallowed hard and headed towards the conference room. His heart hammered in his chest. This was it. The moment he'd been working toward for years. Inside, the producer sat at a long table, his presence commanding attention. A cup of coffee steamed beside him, the air brimming with an electric energy. Jack took a seat across from him, a cold knot of fear and excitement tightening in his stomach. "Jack, right?" the producer said, his voice smooth but curious, as though he were deciding how to categorize Jack within the music landscape. "Yeah, that's me," Jack replied, forcing a confident smile, even as doubts clung to him like shadows. "I've listened to your demo. It's interesting," the producer continued, leaning back in his chair. "But what do you want to bring to the table?" Jack paused, weighing his answer. This was a pivotal moment, a chance to own his voice. "I want to tell stories through my music, ones that connect with people. Real stories," he said, hoping sincerity would resonate. The producer's eyes glazed over. "Real, huh? Everyone claims that. What makes your story stand out?" Jack felt warmth in his chest. "Because it's messy. I'm not perfect," he admitted, surprising even himself. "There's grief, love, mistakes. But there's always a spark of hope. If you can feel that, then that's where the magic happens." The producer regarded him, a flicker of something in those sharp eyes. Just then, Jack's phone buzzed harshly on the table. Another message from Martin. "We really need to talk." His heart sank. He was caught between two worlds now, this dream he battled for and the storm that was waiting outside. Jack hesitated, torn between the uncertainty that awaited him and the hope blossoming inside the rehearsal he had just shared. "Mr. Reeve, are you with me?" The producer's voice cut through Jack's reverie, pulling him back to present reality. "Yes, I'm here. Give me a moment." Jack glanced at his phone again, the weight of Martin's urgent plea hitting him sharply. Was it time to choose? He took a deep breath, knowing the answers hinged not just on this meeting, but on the emotional thread he was weaving with his music. And then he remembered Emily. If only she were here, nudging him forward, reminding him to be brave. "Actually," Jack started, feeling conviction rising in his chest. "Can we start over? Let me share something that really matters." Just then, a new text popped up, one that made his heart rate surge again. "It's urgent. Meet me at the diner now." What was Martin trying to pull him into this time? Was it worth stepping away from his moment? He could feel the crossroads beneath him. Jack looked up, ready to face whatever came next. Was he prepared to leave behind this chance for something that might break him instead of build him? The stakes just got higher, and as the meeting slipped into uncertainty, the melody of his life was about to play a different tune. Jack's heart raced as he wrestled with the decision looming in front of him. The producer's gaze was steady, but Jack felt the pressure shift around him, thick with unsaid words and unplayed notes. "Mr. Reeve, we value authenticity," the producer offered, returning from the momentary distraction. "But I need to know how you'll transform that into something commercial. Music is personal, yes, but it also has to resonate widely." The simple regret of skipping this moment loomed, yet Martin's urgent text echoed in his mind. "Can I be real with you?" Jack asked, the words tumbling out before he could reconsider. I'm standing on a precipice right now. I've fought for this to find my voice and my way in this industry. But at the same time, I've got someone in my life who needs me. I can't ignore that. Life's messy, I get it, the producer said, but Jack saw skepticism dancing in his eyes. But this is a business. If you're distracted, then I won TB, Jack said, trying to cover the crack in his voice. Just give me a moment. One moment. He darted a glance at his phone again, tempted to let the world outside swallow him whole. It wasn't just about the meeting anymore. Martin's demands felt like shadows creeping in, always there, relentless. Beyond them sat a diner that had seen years of their friendship shaped by laughter and, more recently, heartache. Mr. Reeve? The producer's patience waned. Just 1 second. Jack stood up abruptly, determination pushing him forward. He turned halfway back, searching for a sign that might convince him, perhaps a hint of encouragement in the producer's features, but all he saw was a set jaw and skeptical eyes. He slipped out of the conference room, moving past the drumming pulse of anticipation that filled the waiting area. His gut tugged at him. Could he really juggle both worlds? He stepped outside, the fresh air a sharp contrast to the stuffy conference room. He pulled out his phone. I'm on my way, he typed back to Martin, heart heavy with whatever was coming next. There was magic in opportunity, but this moment felt shaky. Then he remembered Emily's words. Sometimes the pause is just as important as the song. Jack drove through the bustling streets, replaying bits of the day in his head. Memories of shared secrets, joy, and laughter filled the gaps of his uncertainty. Arriving at the diner, nostalgia wrapped around him like a warm blanket. The neon sign buzzed softly in the late afternoon sun. He stepped inside and found Martin slumped in a booth, his expression masked with urgency. What is going on? Jack asked, sliding into the opposite seat. Martin's eyes were shadowing every ounce of shared history they had. I didn't think you'd come. Martin's lips twitched, but didn't form a real smile. It's serious, man. Things have changed. The gravity of those words settled between them. The diner was a world unto itself, cluttered, filled with the laughter of others and the aroma of coffee, but in this booth, the air felt thick with tension. What happened? Jack felt the ground shift beneath him, the weight of his music dreams slipping further away as he leaned toward Martin. It's about your dad, and some things you don't know. Martin's eyes flicked to the window, then back to Jack, unyielding. I need you to listen closely. This could change everything. Jack's pulse quickened, a sense of foreboding tangling with the hope of his earlier meeting. Would he lose everything he fought for? Or would this be the key to weave together the threads of his life into something whole? With uncertainty thrumming between them, Jack leaned in. Tell me, he urged, ready to face whatever storm awaited him. Did he have the strength to confront the past that was knocking so insistently on his door? And could he still find his voice amidst the chaos it promised to unleash? Martin inhaled sharply, his fingers tapping nervously against the vinyl seat. Jack, you remember how you used to ask your dad about his music days? The stories he told? Jack nodded, the memories swirling like notes from a familiar song. Yeah, he used to light up when he talked about it. Well, he didn't just stop making music for no reason. Martin leaned forward, lowering his voice. He got hurt by someone in the industry. Badly. Jack's heart clenched. What do you mean? There's this group of old friends. They were more than just colleagues. They were family. Your dad was at his peak, ready to make it big when everything fell apart. There was a betrayal, Jack, a deal gone wrong. It crushed him. Why didn't he ever talk about it? Jack asked, bewilderment crawling over his skin. Because he thought he could protect you from the fallout. But it shaped who he became, who you've become. And now he's finally ready to confront it. A silence settled around them, both heavy and palpable. Jack's mind raced with thoughts of his father, distant and melancholic. What does he want from me? Martin paused, choosing his words carefully. He wants you to help him heal, to reclaim his passion. He needs you to be part of something he lost long ago, a chance to create again. The weight of expectation loomed larger than Jack could have anticipated. What if I fail? Jack, this isn't just about music, Martin said, a fierce intensity sparking in his eyes. It's about helping your dad live again. It's about family. If you can navigate through this together, it could be just what you both need. Jack felt a rush of emotions. On one hand, the thrill of stepping into the artistic arena that had always beckoned him. On the other, a fear that hounded him. What if the truth was worse than he ever imagined? How do I even start? We start with the songs, Martin replied, his voice a whisper now. Your dad's collection. There are things he wrote that never saw the light, songs full of pain, hope, all wrapped up in a history you both share. If you can help him unearth those, it might set him free. Jack swallowed hard. He could see it now, a tableau of melodies waiting to be brought back into the light. The thought sent a shiver down his spine. And what about the meeting? The deal? Let it go for now, Martin said, shaking his head. Music isn't just a profession for you, Jack. It's a way to connect, to heal. Maybe that's the way through for you both. The diner faded into the background, the endless chatter around them a muted hum. Jack's heart raced, not just with fear, but with a flicker of hope. He could see a path, however uncertain, winding before him, a chance to mend a broken bond with his father. All right, Jack said, determination creeping into his voice. Let us find those songs. But what if he's not ready? Martin shrugged, the confidence unwavering. You won't know unless you try. Sometimes, the hardest notes bring the sweetest melodies. Jack nodded, emboldened but unsure. A challenge lay ahead, and the stakes felt higher than they'd ever been. What melody would they find buried deep beneath memories? And could they truly face the legacy of pain that bound them both? As he met Martin's gaze, the question lingered. Would reclaiming the past lead them to a brighter future, or would it fracture everything he held dear? With the weight of the moment pressing down like a crescendo, Jack knew he had to decide, could he step into this chaotic harmony and confront the truth? And as their eyes locked, the unspoken promise hung heavy between them. The journey was just beginning. Jack turned the key in the ignition, the engine rumbling to life. As he navigated the streets toward his childhood home, his thoughts raced faster than the passing landscape. Each familiar turn brought memories crashing back, his father's laughter echoing off the walls, the way the living room would transform into a makeshift stage during family gatherings. But beneath the surface lay shadows, growing darker as he approached. Pulling into the driveway, Jack felt the weight of anticipation and anxiety crash over him like a wave. The house stood there, much the same as he remembered, but different too, like an old song he hadn't heard in a long time. It had aged, just like the man he was about to face. As he stepped through the door, the air inside felt thick with unspoken words. His heart raced at the thought of this encounter. Would his father be receptive? Or would he cling stubbornly to his silence? Dad, Jack called, his voice an echo of the past. There was no immediate response. An empty quiet filled the gaps. Jack moved into the living room, glancing around at the scattered remnants of a life once vibrant. The guitar, pushed against the wall like an afterthought, sent a pang through him. Would it ever play again? Finally, he found his father in the kitchen, seated at the table, looking down at a stack of old papers. Lyrics, maybe? Jack's breath hitched at the sight. There was a man who had buried himself in silence and regret, a deeper wound than Jack had anticipated. Hey, Dad, he said softly, approach tentative. Henry looked up, weariness etched into his features, a face that had seen love, loss, and a multitude of seasons. Jack, he replied, his voice barely a whisper. They stood there for a moment, two musicians on a stage, uncertain of the first note to strike. I was thinking maybe we could go through some of your songs. Jack ventured, his hands trembling slightly. The idea felt both exhilarating and terrifying. His father hesitated, the walls around him thickening before Jack's eyes. I haven't really kept up with them, Henry murmured, almost apologetically. I know you haven't played much, but they're still part of you, Jack pleaded, feeling the tide of nostalgia wash over him. They were part of us. The flicker in Henry's eyes told Jack that the walls were cracking, but could they break all the way? I don't know if it's worth it, his father said, head hanging low. Jack could sense the weight of years behind those words, the fear, the heartbreak, the betrayal that Martin had mentioned. What if it's not just about the music? Jack suggested, stepping closer, determination pushing through his uncertainty. What if digging into these songs could help you heal? Help both of us heal? Henry's gaze fell to the table, his fingers grazing the edges of old lyrics. For a moment, silence engulfed them both, heavy and dark, but also filled with possibility. I don't know, what if I'm just not the man I once was? Jack's heart ached at that. You are more than the pain you've been holding on to. Let us find those songs, Dad. Let us see if we can uncover the parts of you that still want to create." The old man looked at his son, his expression a mixture of confusion and hope. Jack felt a tide of emotion swell, the potential for reconciliation hovering over them like a forgotten melody ready to be played again. Henry drew a shaky breath, glancing down at the papers before finally meeting Jack's gaze. Maybe it's worth a try." The air shifted and unspoken understanding blossomed between them. It was just a tentative step, but it felt like the beginning of a symphony long overdue. They were on the verge of something powerful, and Jack could almost hear the first notes starting to ring out as they gathered the sheets. A question loomed large in Jack's mind. Would they truly dive deep enough to confront the pain? To confront the silence? And as that thought settled between them, Jack felt an unshakable pulse of determination. This journey would change them both if only they could find the courage to let the music play again. As the afternoon light filtered through the kitchen window, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air, Jack and his father flipped through the old sheets of music. Each faded lyric contained echoes of laughter and whispers of pain, lovingly crafted years ago but never shared with the world. Jack shared a cautious smile. "Look at this, Dad, a song about the autumn we went camping. Remember those bonfire concerts?" He laid the paper across the table, revealing a chorus filled with youthful optimism. Henry's brow furrowed, a mixture of nostalgia and sorrow crossing his face. "Those were good times," he murmured, the memories breaking through the walls he had built around himself. As they sifted through the song collection, Jack felt a flicker of hope kindle within him. Each piece plucked from the past seemed to lift a weight from his father's shoulders. "What do you think? Should we try and play one?" Jack felt a spark of excitement. Henry hesitated, fingers trembling slightly as he picked up a guitar that had long fallen silent. "Are you sure it won't just remind us of everything we've lost? Maybe it'll remind us of what we can still find," Jack replied, his voice steady and warm. "Let us discover it together." After a long moment, Henry nodded, taking a deep breath. Tentatively, he strummed the first chords of a well-loved tune. The notes hung in the air, filling the kitchen with a sound that had been absent for so long. Jack felt his heart swell. It was a musical homecoming. As they played, the memories began to flow, a life once vibrant, untangled from the pain. Laughter swirled around them, each chord unearthing buried stories. Jack watched as his father started to find himself again, each note breaking the chains of doubt and hesitation. Midway through the song, there was a pause. Henry looked up, eyes glistening with unspent tears. "Jack, I never wanted you to feel the burden of my mistakes. I thought I was protecting you by keeping it all in." Jack shook his head. "You don't have to carry it alone anymore. I'm here for the music, for us, for everything." The air shifted again, this time crackling with the promise of healing. Henry's fingers trembled as he returned to the guitar, his love for music pushing through the insecurity. Together, they crafted an impromptu melody that spoke of grief and love intertwined. Later that evening, they sat at the kitchen table, the remnants of their shared performance hanging in the air. The silence was different now, filled with understanding instead of tension. Jack looked at his father, overwhelmed with gratitude. "Thank you for taking this step with me." Henry nodded, his face brighter than it had been in years. "We have so much more to share: music, memories, life. Let us do this together," Jack urged, feeling a new sense of purpose swell within him. "Not just for us, but for others who need to hear these stories." "I'd like that," Henry replied, a soft smile curling on his lips for the first time in what felt like an eternity. They dove headfirst into creating together, rewriting old songs, and penning new ones rooted in their renewed relationship. The collaboration lit a fire within Jack, and soon enough, the idea of a community concert blossomed away to share their journey and open the door for others to reconnect with their passions. As the weeks passed, Jack saw significant changes in his father. Their relationship blossomed, each new song improving their bond and deepening their understanding of one another. Henry found the courage to let the shadows of the past fade as he embraced the joy of creating once more. Then came the day of the concert. A nervous exhilaration buzzed through Jack as he stepped onto the stage beside his father. He glanced at the crowd, seeing friends, family, and even old acquaintances, all gathered in the spirit of unity. As the music flowed, Jack found solace in the rhythm of shared stories, the tales of loss, discovery, and love. The applause washed over him like a warm embrace. He looked to his father, who smiled back, eyes shining with pride and freedom. This journey, which began in silence, transformed into a chorus of voices, a symphony of healing and hope for both father and son. They wielded their artistry, connecting with others who had been lost in their own struggles, inspiring them to seek their paths home. And as they played, Jack realized that life wasn't just a stage to perform on. It was a journey to be shared. With each strum, they reclaimed not only their music but their relationship, a melody bridging the gaps that distance had created. The crowd erupted in cheers, and Jack's heart swelled with joy. This is just the beginning, he called out to them, confetti raining down like dreams come true. Together, we all have songs to sing. As the final note lingered in the air, the applause washed over him. Jack looked across the sea of familiar faces, people he loved, people he had shared his life with, and realized he had found his voice not just through music, but through reconnection. Walking off stage, he and Henry embraced tightly, hearts brimming with joy and the promise of all the melodies yet to come. They confronted their past, reclaimed their futures, and embraced each other with full hearts, smiles shining bright. Jack felt grateful for every challenge that had pushed him toward this moment. He realized that music could heal profound wounds, that families could be mended with love, and that dreams are worth risking everything for. As the applause slowly faded into the night, a new beat kicked off within his chest, a powerful rhythm that whispered, "This is just the beginning." Now, as you've reached the end of this heartwarming journey, it's your turn to take action. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire your journey. Leave a like now to fuel this channel's reach and give it the love it deserves. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. I want to hear your heart, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let us spread the message that it's never too late to dream and create.